Thank you for joining me today on A New Balance as we continue to navigate through what is balanced living. And there's a topic that's really close to me. That's something that has hit home in the last couple of weeks, and I wanted to share that with you. And that is about that dang scale. Do you have a scale at home? I do. It's on my Wii, so I really can't smash it because it's kind of expensive. It's the Wii Fitness board. But if I had a less expensive scale, I'd probably trash it with a hammer, destroy it, get rid of it. Because right now I have realized that the scale is a stumbling block for me, and I felt like if it was a stumbling block for me, it might be for someone else. So I wanted to talk about that today. I believe the scale is a good tool. It can be a good tool if we're using it in the right manner, if our hearts are in the right place, if our minds are focused on God and we're not focused on food or dieting or calorie counting, then a scale might be a good tool to use, just to make sure that we're on the right track. Are we headed in the right direction? Are we staying in the right direction? Or do we need to make a few changes? What I realized for me in the past couple of weeks as I've gone through this journey of stopping dieting, of getting rid of these labels and focusing on God, hunger and fullness, and staying in those two contexts of focusing on God, focusing on hunger and fullness, I realized that right now the scale, it's a stumbling block for me. It's just something that I can't do. And believe me, there are mornings where I get up and I'm tempted to get on the scale. I really want to see. I feel like I'm having a little bit of change, and I'd like to see if the numbers on the scale match what I'm noticing. But at the same time, I have realized that the scale will hinder me from focusing on God and focusing on hunger and fullness. Because two different things I have noticed have been happening for me, and if they're happening for me, they may be happening for you. One is the happy one. You get on the scale and, yes, I lost 5 pounds this week. That's great. Oh my goodness. That's pretty significant, right? So what happens? I let my guard down. Oh, I can, eat past hunger level of 5. I can go up to a 6 or 7 because I've lost weight. Or I'm not really at a 0. I'm not completely hungry, but that food over there looks good. I've lost weight, so I can loosen up a little bit. I don't have to obey God because I've gotten my reward. That's a stumbling block for me. That's a struggle. The other issue is what I know a lot of women in the circles where I coach, I see this a lot. You get on the scale, you haven't lost any weight. Maybe you've gained 3 pounds. All of a sudden you start feeling bad about yourself. Maybe you start starving yourself. Maybe you start cutting extra calories. Maybe you just develop this whole mindset where you just feel like you're unworthy, you're worthless. You start trying to manipulate food. You start trying to manipulate hunger. All of a sudden you start bringing in these extra diets. And you've brought yourself back to a place where you've let food, dieting become your master. It's become your God. And you've lost God being your master and God being your God. And I'm not saying scales are wrong. I think they have their place, but I have realized personally for me as I'm going on this new journey of getting rid of the diet labels. I was vegan. I was plant-based. Those were my labels. Years ago, I was low-fat, fat-free label. I've been the diabetic diet label. I've been the Atkins label. I've been the paleo label, which I struggled with. I've been all the labels, and I've left that. That doesn't mean that I don't eat a vegan meal. Sometimes I do. I eat a plant-based meal. No meat, no dairy. It's not a big deal. I just eat what my body craves. It doesn't always crave meat. I don't eat meat 3 times a day. But I've let go of those labels. And so part of that journey is realizing I'm focusing on God, focusing on hunger and fullness, and that's it. One meal at a time. right now I'm between hunger and fullness. So I'm going to stay busy. I've got projects to do. I'm going to stay busy, but I have to focus on God, focus on my little steps throughout the day, and I cannot worry about the scale because I know right now the scale is just it's gonna mess me up. And so I want to encourage you today to think about, does the scale help you? Does it help you? I know there was a time period if I was avoiding the scale, which I did, and I got on the scale and I was 30 pounds heavier. I was also using that scale in really a negative context too, because I was avoiding it because I knew it was going to give me a truth that I needed to see. That's not healthy either. That doesn't mean we avoid the scale and we just go binge eat and do whatever we want. That's not the focus of this journey. The focus of the journey is to put the scale in its place. And if it's a stumbling block, put the scale in another room, put it in the attic, hide it, do whatever, and just focus on one day at a time, one meal at a time, one moment with God at a time. And that's it. Just focus on those things. What are some other stumbling blocks that you've noticed? I'd love to hear about it. If you could comment below and let me know. I'd love to have more conversation and dialogue about what those other stumbling blocks may be, because if they're a stumbling block for you, they may be a stumbling block for me or someone else, and we can problem solve together on how we can continue on with this journey. Remember to like, share, comment below. Let me know what you think. Have a good one, guys.